Thank you for joining us on the Media Connection. Today, you might have noticed our opening was a bit of a blast from the past. As you may recall, for longtime viewers, my late husband, Sultan Abdul Latif, former director and co-host of the show, this month is the anniversary of his passing. And it also happens to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But this month, we're paying special tribute to those whose lives have been touched by cancer of all kinds. And a special program this month, October 26th, it's called An Affair from the Heart. Presented by Creativity United in association with the Alexander Experience. This is an event that pays tribute to those whose lives have been touched by cancer, as well as those who have survived and have a story to tell. So in this month of October, we want to honor the former director of the show, Sultan Abdul Latif, as well as many others who fought a valiant fight against a very deadly disease and left behind a great legacy. Joining me today are two who have fought and survived, and we'd like to pay tribute to them and give them an opportunity to share some words of encouragement and wisdom. We have Miss Veronique Thomas, who has found a way to make a very serious situation laughable. She's a comedian as well as a spokesperson. Also joining me is Miss Melbra Anne Smith, another fighter and survivor, who we look forward to giving us those special words of encouragement. I want to thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, of course, I've been through what happens to a person when they have been stricken with the disease of cancer. And as I mentioned, my late husband, Sultan Abdul Latif, this month, he passed away. Matter of fact, October 21st was the anniversary of his passing. And we were both very health conscious in our lifestyles. However, you never know what you may have inherited. You never know what might happen in your environment, stress or whatever that could trigger the disease. And then the numbers of women with breast cancer are rising. So in this month of October, breast cancer has been one that we focused on to help women become aware of not only getting themselves tested, but also perhaps making the necessary lifestyle changes that could prevent the disease. But now you both have some very interesting stories as women who have survived. First of all, Veronique, you know, I find the fact that you are a comedian very refreshing, because people often don't know how to face what could be a fatal situation. Tell us your story. First of all, how were you informed that you had breast cancer, and then what made you decide to take it to a level where it became part of your comedy routine?
I worked in healthcare 20 years. I found my own lump. I was not of the age to have a mammogram. I am also the first in my family to have breast cancer. It is not, as they like to say, that it's the maternal side. Usually somebody has had it. I had two relatives who died at the same age of pancreatic, and I was inquiring about having the BRCA1, BRCA2 test to see if I'm a gene carrier of cancer. I found my own lump, getting ready for work. I had the classic sign that my nipple was inverting. It was actually quite obvious when I looked at my breast that the left one was different from the right. The symmetry was completely off.
Oh my.
I looked like I had a deck of cards, if you will.
Oh my goodness.
In my left one, as opposed to the right, and it was heavy. I had a mammogram, an ultrasound. They did the biopsy right away. We chose to attempt to save the breast. That was not possible. I had a mastectomy. I was stage 3 breast cancer. I was ER receptor positive, which means estrogen fed my tumor.
Oh my.
Yes. I decided with time on my hands, because I had to wait 28 days before I could start my chemo, that I was going to make cancer my career. And I started to write articles. And I contacted people in the media. Talk to a real cancer patient. People need to see a real cancer patient.
Yes.
I never wore my wig unless I was performing, or my prosthetic. I wanted people to look at me and ask questions.
So you had to have your head shaved, you know, the chemo, I mean not shaved, but the chemo took your hair out?
By the first round, just like the day before my second round of chemo, it was, yeah. And I wasn't, I knew it was coming, but you know, I let it blow in the wind until it falls. That was my, I looked at the events of what was going on around me, and I'm naturally that kind of person to have a wisecrack. So I decided to, I asked a friend to give me an open mic, who happens to be my hero for my hero comedy. And he blessed me with a huge opportunity to grace his stage to help at another benefit. And we raised enough money for 17 women to get free mammograms, and I fulfilled my dream
that is wonderful.
of performing. I look at it as humor and your state of mind and faith are huge factors, along with the chemo, the radiation, and whatever else. That mentality, I believe, is what helps you. I have a motto that says, I let cancer take my breath, not my life. I choose to live.
I like that.
Thank you. And I also believe in educating and empowering to end this, because without educating yourself, you cannot empower yourself to end it.
So what saved you was, you know, finding the lump early enough for...
Well, I was stage 3.
So that was still
we
kinda
don't
late.
know. Nobody has ever been able to confirm, did I have a slow growing tumor that everybody missed? Or, because I did go to the doctor regularly, OB-GYN and internist. I checked myself. I know how to check myself. They don't know if it was an aggressive tumor. There is absolutely, that is a question that will never be answered for me. I did lose the entire breast. I just had reconstruction this past July. One of the things that I do, as far as not only being a comedian, I'm a spokesperson for Bras for Hope. Bras for Hope is an organization that is so valuable and people need to know about. They provide mastectomy bra, post-mastectomy bras for patients which have a prosthetic in it. I brought one for you to see how fabulous these are.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
This is the prosthetic, and they'll go to the size of the breast, as close as we can get to.
So it matches whatever you already have.
Exactly. Some are synthetic like this. Others are more like almost like a gel.
Okay.
So they have different types.
Like implants are made.
Yes,
from.
exactly. The bras look like this, and on the inside is where you would place your prosthetic. It goes in through
so
here.
So it fits right into the bra.
Right. So in my case, it was on the left. And it.
So there's no danger of it like falling out or something.
Absolutely not.
I see.
These are fabulous products. $200 a bra, and we give them away. So we are constantly out there in the public trying to raise awareness and funds, so we can continue giving this service to other people, because it was invaluable to me. I mean, it really is something to have something as small as this, even though it's $200, to raise your spirits and make you feel normal for those few hours.
So the part of, I guess, the emotional trauma is losing a breast. I mean, you know how women feel about their bodies, and then so to have something that makes you look and feel normal, then that kind of
it really boosts your spirits, because you feel you're going through so many changes physically. Your hair, your skin, your nails. You know, you're exhausted. You don't feel like getting up and putting on makeup. You don't feel like getting dressed. So to be able to say that when you go outside, this is one less thing that makes me remember that I am sick is huge. That's how I feel about the product. We're doing actually the Pink Ball Gala for the first time this year to raise funds for this. So if anybody's interested in going, please visit brasforhope.org, and you can also make a donation there if you can't attend the event but care to support. My comedy, I look at is, I want people to understand when I joke about cancer, I tell my story.
Yes.
I am not going, haha, you're sick. I'm talking about my personal experience.
So you were able to tell jokes about what the hair loss?
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. Here's a statistic. There are people who have said, my spouse, being intimate, found my lump. And I do a joke about that my husband was very angry and he wanted to sue everybody. Like, how could doctors miss this? And I told him, how, you're the first person I'm suing. What are you mad for? And he said, why? And I said, well, you snoozed at your job. So, you know, this is, but it's statistical and it's true.
Yeah.
You know, I unfortunately have friends who went through that. I remember having medicine given to me, and I kid you not, I think I've peed every color in the rainbow.
Oh my.
But, you know, but there's people who've gone through that, and I want them to know you're not alone.
That's part of it.
You know, you are absolutely not alone. There are other people who are going through it. I just happen to be vocal about it, and I chose to share that whole area of my life with the world.
That is a blessing to be able to help people feel better. Now, Anne, of course, you've gone through the process of discovering your health situation. Tell us what happened when you found out you had cancer, and how did you deal with it?
It was right after my birthday, and I was laying in my bed. I never did the breast exams because it doesn't run in my family. So cancer was like never. High blood pressure, all those, yes.
Weren't expecting it at
So
all.
I'm laying here and I feel this. I'm like, this isn't right. Immediately I call my doctor. I call her. I says, Dr. Chico, I need to come in. But now I was laying flat on my bed. So when I went there, they don't always lay you back. I said, Dr. Chico, you have to lay me down. She says to me, you worry too much. It's nothing. This was in May 2009. I said, okay, maybe she's right. This, again, I'm like, something is not right.
Now, did you have any other kind of symptoms like fatigue or anything?
And
No warning.
I went
sign
back
at
to
all?
her again the second time, and she says, you're going to get a mammogram in August, September. So just, I said, I just need you to expedite this for me.
Yes. You don't wanna wait.
And she didn't.
Oh,
She
no.
said, I just wish you would stop letting things get to you. I'm like, do you understand?
No.
I went back a third time, and to no avail. She says, I'm going to put in for your mammogram for August.
So she wouldn't move the date up. I mean, what was the point in waiting?
She says it was nothing there. So God is good. I had a knee injury, and I went to see a different doctor because she was on vacation. And immediately I expressed to him about this. He says,
Felt the love.
lay down right now. And once he did begin to do it, he said, how long has this been? And now we're August.
Oh.
I said, since May. He said, this should have been addressed.
Oh no. So apparently that first lady is no longer your doctor.
No, she's no longer there. I had to do a letter. Because my thing is, you didn't listen to my cry.
Yes.
I mean, all you had to do was expedite, because that's what he did. Expedite. The next day I was getting an ultrasound. And after the ultrasound, the biopsy, he said in a week you would know, in a couple of days you would know. So I would call my doctor. She said, well, I don't have any results. And I went in that Friday, and she says, no, they haven't came in yet. So you know I'm on pins and needles.
Yes.
So Monday I said, well, they haven't called me. Everything must be okay. I'm going to go and pick up my work statement to go back to work. And I'm driving. I'm pulling up in the parking lot of the medical center. And my phone rang, and it's my doctor. I said, Dr. Chico, I'm pulling up right now. I'm right here in the parking lot. I'm on my way in to get my work statement. She says, I have bad news for you. You have cancer.
That is not good to hear.
Tears just, I mean, it was like I was froze.
So when you first hear the word cancer, is the first thought, this is terminal, my life is ending early?
You do. At least I did. And I got out my car, and when I finally could get out, and I went in, tears was running. I didn't care. I needed to talk to somebody. And one of the nurses, the receptionist, called the nurse, and the nurse came and assisted me in the back and began to talk with me and tell me it would be okay and pray with me. And she says, we're going to get through this. And my doctor comes in, I'm so sorry. And she hands me a paper and said, you have to see a surgeon next week. Absolutely not. You didn't hear me. I cried. This is my point to educate women. When you say this to your doctor, make sure they hear you. Because what if I wouldn't have went to another doctor and I was stage 2.
Oh, so it would have progressed and progressed, and then it could have been inoperable.
And so they had to do a lumpectomy. And at that time, they told me I was cancer-free.
So a lumpectomy, that's when they just remove the lump. They don't have to remove the whole breast.
Right. And they moved a few lymph nodes were involved. I think it was 3.
I had 10 out of 11 were positive for me, so they removed mine.
So they removed 3 of mine. And I began to, my doctor says, well, you're cancer-free. Now you can, chemo I'm going to suggest for you to do for 6 months, or you have a choice. I said, well, if I don't have to have it, I don't want it. He said, but 6 months after you go through, and which you will, what's going to happen is going to come back. It's going to be more aggressive. Only thing I can think in my mind is that the people I've seen die from this and how sick they got. And I just already had put myself in that mode where I'm going to be sick, I'm going to wilter up, because I've seen this. But
You've known some people who actually had been stricken with cancer.
I mean, my story to me is one so different, because I met a woman prior to this, and she told me she had cancer like 3 different places, and she's a person that helped me along the way, because the next year, lo and behold, I was diagnosed.
Oh.
And she had like already laid me out the things that would happen if you had cancer. So I began to go through the chemo, and I'm like you. My hair came out the first
session.
The first session, that was it. And my biggest fear with that was not going around to go around people's. I went to my barber, and I wanted him to do me early, cut it all off, because I had like alopecia spots.
Oh.
And
so when the hair comes out, it just like come out with patches and all.
No,
okay,
I didn't
not
even
smooth
find
it off, just kind of patches.
I didn't find
going.
hair in the pillow like people talk about. I woke up one morning and I felt like I had a clip in my head. My head hurt.
Oh.
My scalp actually hurt. And I woke up and I took the brush and I went through it, and it felt like cotton candy.
Oh my.
And a big chunk came out, and I told my husband, have you ever wanted to cut somebody's hair like that sat in front of you in school that you didn't like? Here's your chance. And I gave him the scissors, and he had tears in his eyes, and he didn't want to do it. And I was like, oh, you're going to cut my hair. I hurt. And so he cut it as much as possible. I called my best friend who videotaped my first comedy show, and I asked him to shave it. And then a month later, he shaved my daughter's head.
Oh.
wow, that
She
was.
shaved her head for me, and then my husband said, I'm shaving it too.
So now all 3 of you were. You know, that's really nice. That's really a sign of solidarity, of support. How did it make you feel when they decided to shave their heads for you? I mean, your daughter had to be around her friends, but you know.
It was awesome. Again, when I lost my hair, for me, it was like, okay, one less thing to worry about, because
Didn't have to comb hair in the morning. Hey.
You know, well, yeah, saved a lot of money. For me, when I heard the C word, I said it's 50-50 till I get to the doctor. It's 50-50 till I get to this stage. I tried to maintain positivity as long as possible. So when the hair left, I was like, okay. You know, it was, to me, it was a small price to pay to wake up every morning. I knew it would grow back.
Yeah.
And I went to the wig shop, told my husband, I'll be whoever you want me to be. Now I get to try every color.
My hair.
Right, I can do whatever color I want.
Red, black.
But, you know, and that's just it. I chose to try and find a way to have fun with it. Like, okay, I'm going to be a redhead. I'm going to go purple. I'm going to go pink. I don't have to pay for it. It's great. It will come back.
How did your husband respond to your good-naturedness about it?
He, of course, was upset like anybody else.
And why are you laughing?
He was really like, I cannot believe you are just, you know, I'm thinking I'm losing my wife. And I said, you ain't that lucky. I'm trying to bury one husband before I go to the old folks home. You ain't that lucky. I'm going to beat this. And my daughter, of course, I had to tell her, like, instantly. There was no being able to break it slowly to her. So I turned to her and I told her, I need you to understand Mommy is going to beat this. I'm making a promise to you. And I came home after every surgery. I came home after my mastectomy. I came home. I had 3 surgeries in 10 days, and I came home after every last one. And when I was told on July 13th, 2011, that I was cancer-free, I sat her down and said, Mommy kept her promise.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
That is
So,
wonderful.
and her friends come over and they ask questions, and I tell them because
That's
I
great.
believe I'm instilling seeds. They're going to go home and ask their mother, have
Right.
you been checked? And what people
Right.
need to understand, men can get this too.
Oh, they
Yes.
do.
So
Yes.
that I tell the kids, it's not just for you to
Not
ask your
just
mom,
it.
but
Men
ask your
can
dad
get
as
it,
well.
absolutely,
And what's
yes.
ironic, I found my lump in May of 2010.
Mine was in
And
May
I
of
started
2009.
I started my my surgeries in June, and that weight, I know that weight that you are talking about. That feeling is just like the clock is going backwards, not forwards.
And with me, the hair thing, I don't know why I'm washing my hair. It just,
So how did that
in the
affect you
shower.
when your hair?
I just began to cry right there in that shower. And my daughter would say, Mom, do you remember telling us hair don't make a person?
Oh.
Guess what? Hair doesn't make you.
How old was your
You're
daughter
right.
when she?
My daughters are grown. I'm so
Okay.
blessed that one is a
Oh,
practitioner.
that's wonderful.
So she was able to coach me. All 3 of my kids
That
came
is
together
wonderful.
because my significant other friend walked out.
And sometimes they can't take it, and that's
It hurted me, but
that's the challenge, because I've known people who have their significant other, just spouse, whatever, what they weren't emotionally able to handle it. And what it is, they're so overwhelmed at the thought of losing you. They have to run because they fear the grief, they fear not being able to be emotionally supportive for you. They don't know what you need. So that's I think a lot of what people struggle with when someone they love has cancer. They don't know how to be supportive. If you had to advise somebody how to be emotionally supportive for someone who's battling cancer, what would you tell them to do?
for me, and I have supported many people, I go there, I sit there, I pray with them, I let them say how they feel. This is a disease that it has no race, no color, no gender, no
calendar.
age. It
Yes.
just, and I'm literally have sat with at least 10 or 12 people that are gone. And I guess with my experience and for going through so much by myself, I really had to be positive. I had to say, I can do this. I have 7 grandkids, and one of my grandkids came and he says, Grandma, I don't want you to die. I don't want you to go to heaven like this. I don't want to lose you. I said, I'm not gonna go, Kyle. He made me a beautiful little heart with the pink all in it, and in the center, he has it darker pink, and he sets it right on my bed. And it was, for me, people see me grow because I knew it was just me alone. I live alone. My kids had to go back to their states and jobs, so that sick days, I had to lay there and pray.
And you had to face it.
And I had to keep taking the pills, and I would, God, give me enough strength. But with going through that, it enables me to sit with people and their families and let them know it's God's will. And that was the hardest thing, because God's will may not always be. I just lost my son's father about 3 weeks ago,
Yes.
pancreatic cancer.
And that, I think, one of the greatest challenges is accepting the transition that's imminent. And both of you all are blessed that you found it in enough time before it reached stage 4, where it's almost overwhelming and almost impossible to beat it. Now my story, of course, is different. My husband, like a lot of men, didn't go to the doctor. I mean, he relied on us eating healthy and all that sort of thing. But in fact, when he finally went for a checkup, he was at stage 4 cancer. And so we knew that it was imminent, that he was going to pass away. And so I had to more or less have the strength to help him through that process and really prepare him for that transition. And we, we actually were able to find some humor in it. I mean, we talked about a lot of things. We were working on different projects. We were in the middle of trying to finish a movie. I just finished a book, and he had just written a forward to the book, and we were on the way to press with it and everything. And I said, look, you're going to the great beyond where we're all going. I want you to figure out a way to come back and tell me how it is. And we would laugh about it. He said, well, when you remarry, I'm going to come and visit you on your honeymoon night, and I'm going to be watching and go, I'm sorry, excuse me, brother, I didn't mean to interrupt. And we were laughing about that. But, we kept the humor about it because it was, in fact, the reality that he was going to leave this world. But a fascinating thing happened, and I'll be at the event on the 25th with the book that I wrote called Visits from the Dream State. And this helps people who've actually had to help a person face imminent death. Right after the funeral of my husband, he actually began to visit me in the spirit, what some people call ghosts. And, I was living alone in my apartment. My daughter, she'd gone to college. And, so after the funeral, she moved back on campus. And I was alone, and he began to visit me in the spirit. And then he began to visit me in, I guess, what you would call another dimension, in the dream state. And I explained what I learned from that experience is that life does not end. We all say in our faiths we believe in eternal life, but he was actually able to keep his promise and come back and tell me what it's like on the other side. And the book is actually a fascinating story because he was able to even help me physically leave my body, my spirit leave my body, and visit him where he now resides. So I offer this book for people who are struggling with issues of life after this life, because it can be very frightening when a transition is imminent.
One of the things that I think people don't seem to realize is not only does it destroy relationships, but it ruins you on so many levels. Financially, emotionally.
Yes.
On so many levels. It was unfortunate. My daughter's father had been gravely ill before I got sick. He was in recovery as I got diagnosed. I was recently married when I got diagnosed. We never had the discussion, does your family have cancer? Has anybody died from cancer? So when now his new wife is diagnosed, and I have the mentality of telling him, you need to choose. Are you staying or are you going? And I did put that question to him because we were recently married. My husband is 12 years my junior, and I did not think it was fair to him that I never wanted him to live with any regret. I never wanted him to, this was not obviously the plan. And if he felt he could not handle that, I told him, you leave today. No hard feelings.
That's very
I
strong.
love you. I have done a lot more on my own, and I will continue to do so if that's the choice you make. And I told him, if you choose to stay, and at some point you punk out, I have to kill you. So
but I got an insurance policy on just in case.
But he, but I've had doctors tell me they've seen marriages of 25 years, and I think people don't understand. You unfortunately have to have that hard conversation.
You do. You have to have that conversation
do.
Because it's a reality.
The other thing is you have to know each other's beliefs and know how you want things handled.
Yes.
As she said about going to see patients, sometimes it's just to sit there and hold a hand. Just
Right.
let them have
And let them say what they need to say.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, we certainly do appreciate you sharing both your stories, and we want to encourage you to have that conversation with your families. Join us for an Affair of the Heart, Friday, October 26th, room 43 at 1043 East 43rd Street in Bronzeville, and it's at 7 p.m. And this is to celebrate the lives and remember those whose lives were touched by cancer. I'm your host, Naimah Latif. We'll see you again next week.